Should you change the DAW or digital audio workstation that you're using to create music? Well, in this video, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you should and 3 reasons why you should not. Let's go. Hi, my name is Pete and this is Studio Live today, where I help you create, record and release your best music. And when it comes to creating and recording music, which DAW or digital audio workstation that you use is one of the key decisions. And a lot of folks ask me, what should I use? And if you're already using something, should I change to something else? Well, in this video, we're going to explore that by going through the 3 reasons you should change and 3 reasons you shouldn't. Let's jump in right now. And just before we jump into that, what is a digital audio workstation? Well, it's simply the piece of software that sits on your Mac, your PC, your iPhone, or your iPad that takes your loops, your samples, your external audio signals, your analog signals, and it converts them into digital files, which you can then mix in a multi-track interface and then combine together into a stereo file, which becomes your finished song. So the digital audio workstation, or DAW, is the centerpiece of your recording experience. So let's start with why you should change. Number 1 reason you should change your DAW is your current digital audio workstation does not have a feature that you really want to use to make better music. The example I give here is that GarageBand, which I use, doesn't have a master track, at least in the iOS version. So what some folks have said is I use Cubasis or I use a different digital audio workstation because I want to have a master track. So if there's something that you can't do, it's stopping you from creating great music that you can do in a different digital audio workstation, that may be a great reason to consider a different alternative. Reason number 2 that you may want to switch or change your DAW is that perhaps you are working in a studio environment or you're collaborating with a bunch of other users on a regular basis who are all using a different platform. So if you are looking to get an audio engineering job and you want to get into a studio that has Pro Tools, well then hey, it may make sense for you to switch to Pro Tools to actually learn it and start using it, so that when you start using it in their studio, you know what you're doing, and then you can share your project files as well as your own audio files. Now this is less of a problem. Pro Tools used to be the absolute industry standard, but these days not so much. You can get away with transferring audio files or stems, which are just wave files of your individual tracks. So you don't need to have the same software, but if you are wanting to be in a studio that has that particular software, then maybe switching to that is a good idea. And the number 3 reason you may want to change your DAW is around your workflow. So I'll give you an example here. If you are into producing things with loops and synths and a lot of virtual instruments, then something like GarageBand or Logic or FL Studio might be what you want to use, something that has built-in instruments and built-in loops and is around that sort of sampling, looping kind of structure. If you want to record a live band with an 8-channel interface, then yeah, maybe grab Pro Tools or Reaper or something that is more set up for a lot of external sounds coming in. You can do both on both, but it is a legitimate reason that if you are constantly recording live bands, you may want to use something that is more supported for that. And if you're recording a lot of loops and synths and virtual instruments, then something like GarageBand can do the job for you well. Okay, so let's flip it around. What are some of the reasons not to change your DAW? Because you might have heard me rant on this before, but I don't think, unless you have a good reason to, you should be jumping out and learning or changing to a new digital audio workstation. So the number 1 reason not to is that you want to create better music or better recordings. Every single digital audio workstation on the market these days, all the modern ones, record the same sound. They're recording 24-bit audio, 96 kilohertz, 48 kilohertz sound into a digital platform. So it's more about what you're using to record, your microphones, your digital to analog, analog to digital converters, your audio interfaces, and most importantly, it is the songs that you're recording, getting it right at the source, recording quality sounds on the way in to whatever digital audio workstation platform you have is the key. So if you think that just upgrading, changing to a better digital audio workstation, so moving from GarageBand to Logic or moving from Reaper to Pro Tools or whatever it is, if you think it's going to give you better sounds, then you may be a little bit disappointed. So don't upgrade just to get better sounds, upgrade because of the reasons we talked about before. Otherwise, if you're comfortable with the current DAW you're using, then learn how to use that to make your best music. The number 2 reason to not change your digital audio workstation is that you want to be a professional, that you need to use a professional DAW to make and release professional songs. Well, I've got some news for you. There are plenty of folks out there that are creating, recording and releasing professional songs to iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, all of the rest, using GarageBand, using a 4-track digital audio workstation on their phone, using whatever they have. You don't need to have a particular piece of software, and Pro Tools, as I mentioned before, may have been the industry standard, and it may still be the industry standard, but that doesn't mean that you need to go out there and spend a lot of money on new software just to get a good sound. Write a good song, record it well, and then you will find that whatever platform you're using, that you can release your best music and that it will sound great regardless of the platform that you're using. And the number 3 and final reason not to change your DAW is that someone else told you to. A lot of people are going to tell you that you need to use X DAW or Y DAW, and it doesn't mean that you should. There's a lot of reasons why people will tell you that. If you go to a store and you're shopping around and someone gives you a recommendation there, they're probably giving you that recommendation because they're going to get paid some commission. They're not going to get any commission if you use a free piece of software like GarageBand or a cheap piece of software like Reaper, but they may be getting paid some decent commission if you're using Pro Tools or some sort of subscription service that they get a little chunk of. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's something to be aware of. Number 2 is people that you listen to online, on forums, on different discussion groups. They are going to give you their recommendations for a couple of reasons. Maybe they're affiliated with that particular software, so they get a kickback if you use it. And look, I have no problem with affiliate marketing. I would be a hypocrite if I did, because I use affiliate marketing, and I'll tell you up front if I've got a link that is going to give me some affiliate revenue that I recommend to you. But that's not always the case with a lot of folks. They may say, use this piece of software because they're going to get a kickback from it. There's also something called sunk cost bias. So what sunk cost bias means is that if someone is already using something and they have sunk a lot of cost, and cost can be money, but it can also be time. So they've spent a lot of time learning this piece of software, or they've spent a lot of money buying a piece of software, they're more likely to recommend that you use it to make them feel better about the time and the money that they have spent. As well as, you know what, people like community. People like to have other people using the same thing as them. So there's not just negative reasons why people want to convince you to use the same software. There's also positive reasons. And it goes back to the one that I did in the positives, which is if you are a part of a community or you've got other people and friends that are using something, maybe it does make sense for you to switch, but be very careful. Take with a grain of salt all of the information you're giving on the internet. And I'm well aware of the irony of me being here on YouTube, giving you advice, telling you to be wary of people giving you advice on YouTube. But take everything with a grain of salt, and just make sure that you know the reasons behind why other people may be giving you that advice. And there you go. I hope you found this useful or interesting or a little bit thought-provoking at the very least. But I want to know what you think. What do you think about changing DAWs? Have you changed from one DAW to another? And what was the experience like? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. So drop those down below. If you've got any other comments, suggestions, or questions, you can leave those down there as well. And I'll see you on the next video. Hey, thanks for sticking around, and a big shout out to the trees who acted as my tripods for this video. If you'd like to check out some more, there's 2 links down below. You can subscribe to the channel up in the top right corner, and you can head over to Studio Live today for even more audio goodness.